What number is this?
I don't know because I lost track. 47 was the last one I did.
So 48. So can we be that close to 50? Maybe
I think
we are.
I missed 2, right?
You missed 2?
You did the chip challenge with Mike.
No, we did one in between.
Oh, we did.
I did one in between. Let's see.
I don't think so. Did we?
Yeah. So this is 49.
Oh.
So I mean, I've been so busy, I have not gotten to look at anything. Mother's taking the reins tonight, so I'm sure most of these articles will be political, but that's okay. I need some politics. I feel like I have not seen the news all week. I'm going to be honest with you. I've only seen the gaming stuff. And hold on, let me start us off with the aliens. Did we talk about that? We talked about this at dinner.
I didn't pull an article about that.
I
only saw one article. You say 50 people. I didn't.
I saw 50. I saw 50. Maybe what I saw was different, but apparently, I'm just gonna break. It's not a big article, so I'm gonna break it down. Apparently, in Nevada. I think Phoenix was the one I was thinking of, but apparently these people saw something falls from the sky. That you see, that's a video, right? It's a green orb, and when you see it on the camera, you're like, oh my god. And then apparently they saw a 10-foot tall aliens, like creatures, I should say, from that orb.
Some said man. The people that
would be pretty wild. But it's just kind of funny how because the original video I saw or article I saw earlier this week was like 50 people saw some UFO like hover, and then a bunch of 8 to 10 foot people came out. Maybe again, I don't know to go by, but isn't it kind of wild? Like, this is kind of weird about politics, right? We're going to talk about the Trump indictment, but it's like, I feel like that's so minuscule in comparison to potential aliens. Like, why is this not literally the only thing we're talking about?
Well, it's funny that we said this, right? They're always, what story covers up the next story, covers up the next story, but maybe all these stories are just to cover up that aliens. We're getting invaded.
Yeah. That's wild. I would think that is the first thing and only thing everyone talks about. Where, again, if my article, the one that I saw was right, of the 50 people, 50 different accounts of people saying on the same day, hey, this UFO landed, and multiple 8 to 10 foot people came out.
Well, the other thing that was unusual about the one that I saw in Nevada was that a police officer was called, and his partner had something on his cam, and they did pick up definitely the green orbs in the sky. But I thought they also picked up one of the individuals. And then they proceeded to start asking people this, and literally said, this is going to sound crazy.
Yeah.
And some of the people were like, oh, yeah, I saw guys like 8, 10 feet tall. They were middle of whatever.
Like, that's insane. And then we talk about, if that ever comes out, right? Yeah. That's the only thing everyone in the world should be talking about.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty
I couldn't care less about presidencies at that point.
Yeah, that's a whole different ball game where, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it at all. All I know is, why is it always in Nevada or Arizona?
Also, why is it the shittiest camera every time?
Right, it's always a big camera angle, but what is it about that area? Now, if I want to play devil's advocate, or maybe that's not the way to say it, but is there something about desert that's conducive to these individuals, that climate? Why do they target
Area
that part?
51's right there.
Right.
Maybe they want their stuff back that we've been taking over
Maybe
the
that's
century.
what it is. But why aren't we also hearing on the same day stories from other parts of the world? Why is it just that part?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. But again, to me, that's the biggest news by far. We're barely even hearing anything about it.
Well, I think it's interesting that within the last 4 years, we've been hearing so much more about that. Yeah. Tucker Carlson did a whole show on that when he was still on Fox News, and it seems to be gaining a lot of traction.
Yeah. Now, you saw the model that was on that private flight. Did you see that one?
No.
Oh, that's probably the most compelling thing I've ever seen. Hold on. Model sees UFO. I'm sure it'll be the first thing that comes up. That was April, May. So
who's the model?
Month?
Somebody we know?
Someone we know. This is.
Or is it?
This is going to be Rogan's video, I think. But
is it long?
No, it should be. So this is Unbox Therapy, but this isn't him. But let's see if we can find it. They say it's the most compelling evidence. Look at this.
What am I looking at?
Ready?
What is it?
So you're gonna see it in a second. All right,
okay.
Watch.
Oh,
look at that thing. boom, and then when you see the freeze frame, you'll go, "What the hell?" Like, it looks like a plane, but then when you see the still image, like, look at that. It's like cylinders. It's circular. But it's like not. It's not conventional.
That's true, but that could be somebody testing some odd-shaped military.
Yeah,
blah blah blah.
That's yeah, maybe, but to me, it's like saucer shaped with a little bit of edges. But and it's flying like this. It's more so hovering sideways.
Well, that's not to say that it's a good thing that they're flying, or some drone type thing. I'm not saying that. I think it's more interesting when there are individuals involved, when you start seeing actual people coming out of these, because you can I don't want to say disprove, but there could be an alternative to the green orb coming down, reflections, everybody saw it. Who knows? I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but they usually come out with something down the road and say, yeah, it turns out it was a drone.
But how many times can you say that until people stop believing?
Well, unfortunately, I think something has to happen where we actually have to interact with somebody before people will believe
that's why
it.
I think these 10-foot aliens, the people, I think that's going to be. I'm curious. I have questions. Speaking of futuristic and aliens, let's go right into the new Apple headset. Did you see this one?
Yep.
So I've been doing a lot of research on this. This video has nothing to do with it. I love how Newsmax will throw in a video that's completely off topic. But the new Apple headset, I will argue, is probably the biggest advancement we've had if it's true, because that is a full computer in your eyes. We don't have that. We've never had that. If they're pulling that off,
you mean in the headset, not your eyes.
But but to fit a whole computer that's more powerful than my computer right there,
right,
into glasses form, that's pretty wild. Even with the stuff that, the stuff that we're doing with our stuff, that's even that takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a certain crossing between the two, but I don't know what Apple's.
They're going head to head with Meta Quest Pro and the Quest 3.
This will blow that out of proportion if what they claim is
not
true.
Out of proportion. Blows out of the water.
Blows it out of the water. Yeah, well, because what Meta's doing is nothing in comparison to a full computer in your eyes.
Well, Apple's trying to blend your video feed from outside with the virtual world on screen in your headset. But they do expect it to be more than the $500 Quest 3 one.
$3,500 for this thing.
Oh, I didn't put a price in there.
This is the tough part, right? And this is where the dilemma kind of is. First off, well, I wouldn't say dilemma, but if it's a full computer, that's about as much. It's a little less than what most gaming computers are.
Yeah.
So in that regard, it's not a bad deal, but it's a full computer for your eyes. You see what I'm saying? So I'm sure there's limitations to what you can do with it, obviously, but still, hardware-wise, if what they say is true, it's pretty impressive. Like, that's definitely going to be a wave of the future if they figure that out.
Well, and Apple also has the infrastructure to do upgrades.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
That you could just plug it in overnight and tweak that computer, and they can constantly upgrade it like they do your iPhone.
My mom means update, but yeah, you're right.
I'm sorry, update. Yeah, do a regular update software, whatever. Interesting, though, the research from IDC, I guess they look at this industry, 8.8 million headsets sold last year. That's down 20.9% from 2021. In 2023, sales are expected to be more than half.
I'm going to be honest with you. That sounds more than I would have expected. I didn't think it would break 2 million. So 8 million is not that bad. But this goes back to
it's
our...
down.
Yeah.
They sold more in the past.
This goes to our overall question that we've talked about on a couple podcasts. It's like, who really needs this stuff, right?
No.
I don't know. Yeah. It's. I would argue that 99 times out of 100, it's made for gaming. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the only... Like, no adult's buying it unless they're doing it for gaming.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So
because it wouldn't work unless there's a platform for work or something related to something else in their life, like YouTube
there's no
to
reason.
watch a video.
So Meta's whole idea was, hey, let's bring this into like the consulting room or for business meetings, so we don't have to actually be at the business meetings. We could just do it over Meta.
Right.
It never took off because no one. What are you going to do? Write that off as a business expense? Everyone gets a $800 headset for home. Now, given COVID, if you have the money, maybe. But again, we have Discord, we have Zoom, we have Slack, we have whatever. So again, I like this idea. What they have going for it is that it's the full package, unlike the Quest, which is like it's the full package, but it's not, right? Everything gets scaled down. Right, my Oculus, I mean, that's a plugin. You still need the computer. So when you're buying an Oculus, you're still buying the computer as well to go with it. Yeah,
accessory.
With this, if it's a full computer at $3,500, the question that we have to get answered or have answered is, what can it do that computer can't? See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean,
I doubt I'm video editing on it, but
I don't know. They're trying to cross over and bring two things into one: the video game and virtual reality.
They could do it.
I don't know if that's different from Meta or what Meta's attempting to do, but Meta's had such problems,
right?
That they've already virtually pulled this thing.
Again, the difference though is their problem. Meta's problem is that cool VR is awesome, but the software that you've made is useless.
Right.
It's cool and all, but no one's going and using it for what you designed it for.
Right.
With the Apple one, I'm just going to speculate here. I'm just going to make this up, but let's say I have a Word document and I made some spelling errors on the train on the way to work. I can make those changes in a document on my Apple thing.
Maybe.
That would be cool. But again, I can just do that on my phone with texting.
Yeah,
like
and you're crazy in this area to be sitting on a train with a headset on.
Yeah, New York City. Damn, you're getting your glasses stolen. Yeah, that's not one that you want.
They'll cut your head off just to take
just for
the
the
thing
glasses.
for you to steal it.
Yeah. So I think the concept of it is a great idea because that means that we're moving forward with the technology of what we can do and what we can fit a computer into. But
well, and also when I think
Facebook,
I'm not thinking technology. When I hear Apple, I'm thinking technology.
Right.
So Facebook, they have to create. Aren't they using Microsoft to develop software side of the Meta?
I don't know the deals anymore. Oh, Meta's with Microsoft.
Yeah. So I mean, they have to partner with somebody. Apple. I mean,
they don't need anyone.
They just
except for the Chinese chips. But
right.
That's about it.
Well, they all need that. So there's not much. Anyhow.
I'm curious to see. Again, I don't know how many people are going to be getting it at the 35. I think it's going to be more of a luxury item.
Yeah, they're expecting sales to be halved this year.
Right. So that's what I mean. I don't know how you would be able to. Yeah, I don't know how you'd be able to.
Well, let's see where Apple goes with this.
Yeah, I'm curious because again, it is, even though it is virtual reality, it is not the same as what we've had at all, in my opinion. Because it's a full computer.
Because it's a computer in your head, yeah.
So a full package for $3,500 might not be an awful deal.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. Again, don't know the limitations of what it can do yet, but what they're claiming is it's the chip inside of it is 4 times better. They say it's the same as having 4 4090s, which is the highest end graphics cards. If they fit that.
Yeah. I think what they're trying to do in general, these companies that are trying to do the virtual reality in whatever form, I think they're trying to bystep a whole lot of technological evolution. We are going to get to that. It's unfortunate probably, but that will be how people interact. They'll never leave their house. Everything's going to be done virtually. You don't ever have to go anywhere. You can live in a dystopian world and you can still connect with somebody and do some sort of business transaction if necessary. Mm-hmm. So I think they understand that this is inevitable, that it's going to be commonplace. It's just more trying to sell it now to an entertainment audience to make people comfortable with it.
I also think that, to your point, they're trying to push the technology forward when the people aren't going after the technology. Like,
we don't have
for
the
cell
need
phone.
yet.
Yeah, for cell phones, the need's there because it was always there. It was, hey, I need a cell phone for an emergency. Or
no, it wasn't always there because when the first mobile phones came out, only a handful of people had them, and they were the size of like a small.
Right? Yeah.
First it was in the car, and then people were walking around with it. And it was a bulky, unusual thing. Where at the time people looked at it and said, "Well, what do I need that for?" Because you have payphones everywhere, and you have landlines, right? So it was like a natural as they got.
I guess you're right. So to the point, like I don't know how many years, but I feel like cell phones came pretty fast. Like what 90s was the first ones in cars, and then all of a sudden within 10 years it's in pockets.
I don't know the time frames, but it moved very quickly.
I don't think this will, because this has been out for, the Oculus has been out for probably 5 years now, and I still don't see any huge upgrades.
No, I get it, but like I said, we're eventually that's the world we're going to, whether we like it or not. So it may not be your generation, it might not even be the next generation, but at some point that's going to be commonplace, which is why people many years ago said, "You don't need a TV. That's a waste. Nobody's gonna. TV isn't gonna be popular, right?" People who aren't visionaries didn't realize. Right. So now it's the VR, right? It'll be down the road.
Yeah.
So, anyhow.
Yeah, I just don't know. I feel like in the end, people are still going to want to be outside and just get that breath of fresh air. I like to think, you know. And well, I guess now that you're bringing it outside, you can do both. But, man, yeah, I don't know.
I don't want to be doom and gloom, but we're gradually not going outside much anymore anyhow.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind, which leads me to my next article, apparently in 17 days from the 4th of
I was
June
about to
21st,
I was going to try and figure this one out, but every time I see
June
this girl,
21st,
I get annoyed.
we're done anyhow. So according to
June
Greta,
21st?
June 21st, 17 days.
I always love getting my information from a 5-year-old or however old she
I
is.
saw another headline that said, Greta Thunberg just graduated from high school at 20.
Did you really?
I think it's true. I don't know.
So why am I listening to her?
Anyhow, well, that's.
And where does she get her information from? Do her parents just go, "Hey, go preach this one. We're losing some. Your social media followers have been down. We're gonna need to."
If you read
this bad boy out.
This thread, which is actually a pretty good one. Obviously, she said the world is ending in 17 days from June 4th due to fossil fuel burning. Good news, doesn't look like it's going to happen. But the person who wrote this, not really an article, but well, it is. It's an opinion piece. He brings up some good points. So if you notice nowadays, I saw a visual for this, but it's not in this article. They showed a current meteorologist with temperatures and somebody, the same person from like a year prior, 2 years prior. The temperatures were about the same.
Yeah.
Just now they put it all in red. Everything's in flames. It's all bright red. So, we're going to have high temperatures tomorrow.
Oh, really?
The temperature's like 72, maybe it was 73 or 74. Bright red. And he's making this point. You know, the weather channels, they're using a lot more red in their forecast, but the temperatures are basically normal. Ireland, I saw this article separately, and he mentions it. They're slaughtering 65,000 cattle to try and bring climate under control. I mean, It's absurd. And now that's why a lot of the people over there are saying,
and then they complain about factory farming, which essentially you're doing that same thing.
Right. Why?
I was watching, I'm not going to speak on Neil deGrasse Tyson's behalf, but I saw something a long time ago, he did a podcast with Joe Rogan, so I don't remember which one it was. But he was saying how it's interesting. Like, I don't want to say that he said that global warming's kind of BS, but he said that the ice caps are designed to melt and recool, right. So that would never happen. I think he said allegedly, just because it covers his ass, but I don't know. I really don't know how that one works, because I think in the end it actually balances itself out, but I'm not a positive on that one.
Well, I think it's becoming more and more of a farce, and part of it, there's some doctors right. It is in here. He did post it. See the difference? The temperatures are virtually the same, but notice the red, the effect it has.
Oh yeah.
One versus the other. I mean, it's a visual effect, but people have to wise up to this because.
But it's funny because it's getting cooler.
Yes, in some cases. Some cases it's cooler. Exactly.
I don't see it ever getting lower though.
It's total propaganda. That's 2017, 2022. Right? Using this stuff as propaganda. And now we have some physicists, okay, that are working on it. I think it's UMass. It's buried in here somewhere. And they're doing the studies, and they're coming out. Now, you'll never see it in the mainstream media, but they're basically saying this is absurd. The amount of carbon that, for instance, cows emit is so small that it doesn't make a difference. And they keep saying stuff. How many ways could they tell you? How many studies could you have that says it's not doing what they're claiming it's doing? Now, just as an aside, I flipped on the TV today, and our governor here in New Jersey was prattling on and on about, the fires up in Canada, how that's due to climate change, okay? There is nothing that supports that. As a matter of fact, a lot of the evidence from Canada shows that they've had fewer fires.
Right. This was just a bad one, but...
Right. But you always have to be suspicious when the recent deficit spending dumped billions of dollars into Green New Deal initiatives. So
Whoa!
You need
How
to drum
dare
up
you.
business for that. How do you
Yeah.
do that? Well, we have climate issues. So we need more solar. We need more wind. We need more of this stuff. Cha-ching, somebody pockets a lot of that money. So, it's becoming, I'm happy to see that more and more people are scratching their heads saying, leave the cows alone. Okay, what's with the cows? Well, it's absurd. It's getting absurd. To slaughter that many cows and then the next breath tell me how people are starving around the world? Come on.
Yeah, I want to know how much Greta's been making. How much has Greta Thunberg been making from all this? 1 million at 20? Not bad, not bad. But yeah, I don't know. I have so many different like heads of information that people give me on global warming that I'm at the point where I don't know if it's true or not, but I know that no one knows the answer.
Yeah.
I just go with no one knows.
Yeah. And it's not global warming anymore. It's climate change.
Right, because there probably wasn't enough information to say that it was warming,
Because
right?
too many of the scientists out there are saying it's not warming. The facts do not state that the climate is warming. It's not.
Maybe if they got brain surgery at a young age.
Oh, there you go.
Transition.
Okay.
This is interesting. I saw this.
Remember, I tried to pull this up in the last podcast or a couple one, and we couldn't get the article. I found
Okay.
it again. I said, all right, I'm bringing it in because this is pretty amazing. So the doctors performed this surgery. This is the Boston Children's Hospital in Massachusetts, 10-member team. They did it into the womb, the skull. So first they went in through the womb, they went in through the skull, and they did the surgery on the brain. The child was diagnosed with Galen Malformation. So what happens is the arteries in your brain, they're supposed to drain into capillaries and then goes in the vein, goes back to the heart. That doesn't happen with them. It goes right from the arteries into a vein, okay? Forcing the heart to work harder because it's not going through the capillaries. And because of that, they have all sorts of issues. I think it was 30% of them don't live past the age of 11. And many of them are born with a lot of defects because of it. Yeah. This child, they identified that vein. They could see it in a sonogram, I believe it was, within 20 some odd weeks. It's in the article. Once they saw that, they said, all right, we know this is going to happen. He or she's going to have that malformation. They had approval to do the surgery in a testing to see if this is something you could do going forward. And they performed it. They were able to do, I don't know, they used some sort of bypass for it.
Right.
2 days later, they induced labor. They had to because they have to break the water to do the surgery. Right. And because of that, babies should not. It's dangerous if they stay too long. 2 days later, child's born healthy.
Wow.
Perfectly healthy. And they're trying to monitor and establish, is this a valid surgery going forward? If you could do it for this, can you start?
Yeah, I mean, that's still, I mean, I can't imagine what the mother's thinking when it's, hey, we're going to have to open you up to do a surgery on your kid before the kid's here. Right?
Well, it's
That's
scary,
gotta
but
be
the alternative
insane.
is if not, your child's going to not live past 11 and he's going to have all sorts of issues his whole life. You got to try it, right?
Yeah, you have to.
It
But I will say we do have to see what happens when he's older because you don't know what the long-term effects of that is.
Right. Well, he doesn't have the high blood pressure, so that's gone away. He doesn't have he's not showing any heart disease, and I think it's been a few weeks now, or any sort of heart issues, which is amazing. I mean, he went from a serious issue to, if they could do this, but,
You know what I want your opinion on?
Yes.
Genetic altering. So I forget what they call it. Gene alter. So
I know what you mean.
So what can I not think of what
I
it's
can't
called?
think of it.
Gene editing. Gene editing.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that in the sense of it? I don't want to get into the ethics of it, but I think, well, I mean, we could talk about the ethics, but for those of you that don't know, basically we're kind of at the point in our medical technology where if you want to change the gender of your baby, like at the beginning, before it's like even whatever term, I don't know the terms of pregnancy, but you can start changing that stuff. What's the mentality behind that one? What do you feel?
I mean, what are you asking me?
So,
morally,
like,
ethically,
let's say if I
scientifically?
Yeah, just in general, in the sense of like, do you think it's a good idea to have something like gene editing? Because like, if I was two white parents and I wanted let's just say, Asian child that was amazing at sports and looked white. Well, I don't know how deep in depth it goes. Like, can you do that? Or, is that going too far? You see what I'm saying? So to me, the only time you would use it is if, like, let's say there's a very, very high chance of a medical problem, then it's fine. But if you're making changes that are like, is this really your son? Like, if you're making those kind of changes, I don't know if I'm okay with the gene editing. I just had this conversation with someone at the gym.
Well, you want to say you're playing God, and that's a risky thing. You know, like any science, it can be used for good and it can be used for not so good, and in some cases evil. It has to be controlled because there's so many slippery slopes involved. So, for some parents, would you want your child to not be autistic if you could take that gene away?
Right.
We would automatically say, well, of course, you wouldn't want to deal with that. But some parents would say that's what makes my child who he is.
Who he is, right.
How about a gay gene? If they ever identified a gene on the genome sequence that makes proclivity towards, homosexuality, do parents have a right to go in and change that because they don't want to have a gay child, right? Or likewise, can gays manipulate a child, a womb, if they adopt a child, to have a gay child? Is that ethical also? We don't know.
If it's a gene, yes.
If it's a gene-oriented, if they ever identify it as a gene that they're part of the whole genome sequence, is it good to eradicate certain, maladies? Absolutely. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to be able to do. Like in this case, this isn't genetic, but they are heading off a serious issue that this child would have had. And that's, to me, is where science is a good
This
thing.
is a physical one, though, right? You can physically change stuff like a brain surgery on the baby because of a blood vessel being clotted.
Right.
When it comes to genes, like whether or not a kid has
but
Down
could they,
syndrome or not.
your question is, if you could change that gene before it even gets to that point in the first trimester.
Is that a gene, though, or is that
we
just
don't know.
poor development? Like, I shouldn't say poor, but like other complications that aren't genetic.
Well, no, I think they're pretty sure that it's a genetic-based thing because you have...
I wasn't sure if it was a developmental issue.
Well, developmental issues can be genetically based, right? I mean, as we learn more and more of what goes into learning issues, for instance, and problems people have, can you back it all the way out to the gene before the child's even born? But you're ethically, there's a lot of problems with that, but let's take China, for instance, when they had their one-child policy and they aborted, could be hundreds of millions of female babies. Would it be better, first of all, to not have that policy at all, is number one. Number two, are you better off selecting male babies before you have the start of a, whatever level, embryo, fetus, however you want to take it? I just don't, whenever you start getting into that, it's always dystopian. You're always in like a weird world. It's never normal, and people take it too far. It's a slippery slope kind of thing. Next thing you know, like they were, let's put human cells on a rat's back to see if we can grow hair.
It gets a little weird.
Yeah.
But I will say, I don't know how often they're doing that with the genes of rats in vitro. I think most of the time they'll just shoot genetics into a rat.
No, they use fetal cells. They'll use aborted cells of children and match that onto rats.
I'm saying
what I consider children.
But I think the rat's like pretty developed by that. Like they're trying to see if they can change the genetics of something that's already born and has been developed. That's like a whole different level.
Right, but I think that particular testing is to see if we can grow hair, so we can start a multi-billion-dollar business where people can get hair.
Well, money's the root of all evil.
The vanity side of it, and instead of trying to figure out how can we genetically fix it so people don't lose their hair, let's take rats and try and create some product we can sell.
Yeah. Well, that's like all the celebrities that do the baby fetus lotion on the skin.
Please don't even tell me. It's just absurd.
Well, we won't do that one. So let's get into I know this one's going to be a little short today just because, but let's talk about, not this one. We'll do this one next.
Trump's?
So we have the big indictment. Now, I'm a little, again, with politics, it's kind of weird how it works, but can you, continue without supporting. Get out of here, CNBC. What exactly is going on with this indictment? Again, I have not been paying attention to the news at all right now, so give me the rundown, Mother. Give us the rundown.
We don't know a whole lot about this yet, and I'm really baffled because when I read this article, there's a couple things in there that, from what I have learned, I disagree with. So there's a big question, and it's already been decided by the Supreme Court, by the way, during the Obama presidency. The President of the United States, from my understanding, he can take anything he wants to, and even classified information,
Right.
and keep that if he decides to, what's the term, unclassify it, whatever.
Declassified.
Thank you, declassify it. And this is what happened, and this is what the past president is claiming, okay? So now somebody has to decide it. Yet again, it has to go through court, and somebody has to decide, did he have the right to take this or didn't he? To me, it's a black and white. This isn't like, and a lot of people pro-Trump, well, I shouldn't say it that way, but a lot of conservative attorneys are saying he absolutely had the right. Every president has that right to do that. They've already taken it to the Supreme Court. They already decided it, I can't remember the name of the case, that if they want to take it and shove it in a sock drawer, like Bill Clinton did, his tapes, they can do that. As president of the United States, they're allowed to. Who's not allowed to do it? A vice president of the United States.
Right.
And a senator is not allowed to do that. So
unless the president says so. The president is allowed to redact for that person. So if the vice president needs something, they can go to the president, which I believe Biden did with Obama.
I don't think that's true. I do not think that is true. Having said that, the vice president, the current president, has things going back to when he was a senator. And they were not in secure locations. Or the question is, how is his garage more secure than pictures of the stuff in a bathroom in Mar-a-Lago? So we're really, Rush Limbaugh had a great line. When people would get frustrated and they would say, oh, this is getting out of hand. He'd be having a heart attack right now. But he would say, all I can tell you is the Democrats tend to take things too far.
Right.
And that's always their downfall. As smart as they are and as shifty as they are, they always take it too far. And I think we're starting to see that because now even the most, non-conservative mind, or even a Trump hater at this point, who has some degree of logic and no Trump derangement syndrome, even if you don't like the guy, people are now starting to see, okay, come on. We have James Comey. They keep rerunning the old FBI director's video over and over,
right,
where he's exonerating Hillary Clinton, who was Secretary of State, for having this email server and for having classified documents, and going on and on and on about how the nature of it and blah, blah, blah. She wasn't even president, and they gave her a pass. Fast forward, anybody who's like, oh, Comer, you're right. They shouldn't be, blah, 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 blah. And now you look at this and you're like, come on, this is getting ridiculous. They couldn't possibly hide the files in the garage behind Biden's Corvette.
Oh, yeah.
And naturally they keep running that story. So as a citizen, regardless of how you feel about a president, make up your mind. Is it allowed or isn't it? Because now they're hitting him with 7 federal criminal charges for false statements, which, by the way, every day we have people giving false statements to Congress and whatnot. Nothing happens to them.
Well, I've been watching a lot of that Jack Harley guy. I always don't know.
Josh Hawley. Senator from Missouri.
That guy, absolutely, even if you're on the left, you got to agree, that guy just tears people apart. He just gets them on all their lies, and it's so fun to watch. Like, there was one where he'll go through, I forget what the term is, but basically it's like the people just keep deferring questions.
Yeah.
Right, which is common, but Josh just rips into him. That guy might, there's few people I would say are fit for that kind of job. Mm-hmm. God put him on this earth for that job. It is insane what that guy does.
Yeah, he's a bright guy. Yeah. He's very good at what he does.
Yeah.
And, doesn't take a lot of crap from people. Right. And conservatives as well, right?
Yeah, he'll rip into him.
He'll rip into anybody. But, it's all great. But for us citizens sitting here, and now you're starting to hear this, I think it's 63% of the people in this country are now saying, we've had enough. Somebody's got to go to jail here.
Yeah.
You can't keep lying. So, again, I personally, regardless of how I feel about this past president, I can think of 10 other people that you have a stronger case to go after than this guy.
So one of my friends, right, he's very left. He's a real Trump despiser.
Right.
But even he says, and I said this to him, and he agrees, all of this could have been over if they never brought it up when he left. So obviously January 6th, but like the worst thing that Trump can do is kind of like run his own mouth, I guess you can say, in the sense of hate to say it, but with his mentality, I guess you could say, I can rub people the wrong way. Is that fair to say? Now, if the left, like the left media news, just ignored him and just kind of let us do his thing for the last 2 years, you probably wouldn't hear about him as much. But because you keep going after him and it's just court case failure after court case failure after court case failure, people go, hey, you're not going to get him on anything. So why do you keep trying? And then all of a sudden you have the guys that go.
I'll tell you why.
Go ahead.
Because it's not about him.
Exactly.
They're
it's
going
about getting
after
rid of anyone who wants to go for the presidency who's not a politician.
No. It's going after this nationalist pride, America first. We want borders.
Right.
We want jobs for our kids. We want schools where we teach our kids
American
how to read
mentality.
and how to write.
Yeah.
It's basic. We don't want Green New Deal because it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Okay? We're a logical, sensical country. After the pandemic we went through, we do not want to lose our rights like that ever again.
Right.
Okay? So it's not about Donald Trump. Trump wants to make it about him. Yeah. They don't want, and I'll give you a perfect example. Just recently, Rachel Maddow talking about this very thing. Her answer to this was, to another liberal pundit with her, her answer was, well, maybe they can cut a deal where they'll drop the charges if he refuses to run. And the counterpart said, well, that's kind of his point that he's making about politicizing this. So you understand the mentality, especially in the media. They don't want this man back in office.
Gotcha.
So they will do, and they have done, since he got into office, everything they can, on our dime, by the way. So even if you don't care, I'm starting to look at this like, you know what, from a taxpayer's point of view, do you know how much money they have spent going after this man just to keep him out of that White House?
Yeah, it is insane. Like, again, I think all of this could have been not swept under the rug, but I feel like you give him more of a platform if you just keep talking about him.
It's just a colossal waste of money to assure that this man, to crush anybody who thinks they're going to vote for him. Yeah. That's it. It's just to say you're not voting for him because they can't do the same. Well, we're going to get demonetized. They can't do the same thing they did before.
Oh, well.
They can't get away with that level of questionable issues that they're still fighting in all these states with an election where, this man's numbers keep going through the roof every time they run these things.
Let's get back to the original question of so what happens now? Let's say he does get indicted. What ends up happening? Right
His
now
arraignment is on Tuesday, which is why, a lot of people are saying, oh, go to Florida to support the president because this is outrageous. Every Republican candidate should go down there and support him. Only because, and keep in mind, too, this is political opposition. Mm-hmm. So the current president is trying to jail his opponent, the leading candidate. That is total election interference. That's why, as we went through with other presidents, well, we can't indict them because it's an election year and it wouldn't be right. We got to wait till after the election. We've gone through that too.
Right, and the fact that they're trying to push it is...
Right.
Yeah.
Like I said, they take it too far, and now it's become so obvious. And this is, they want to walk him into court. They want to embarrass him.
But how many times are you going to walk him into court and have nothing happen? Right? But you can say that about a lot of politicians too. People who's like Josh Hawley had a guy. It was a lady that just lied under oath, straight up caught her. Yeah, she's just out and about. Right. That doesn't make sense to me.
But you don't understand. This particular president is loved and hated around the world.
Yeah.
So they not only want to walk him in and embarrass him in the U.S., they want to send a message to everybody who supports him. We will embarrass you on the world stage. Which is most,
because everyone I know who's overseas, I have a lot of friends overseas, they think he's a hero. Yes. I'm like, really? Yes. I'm like, what does it have anything to do with you guys? And they're like, yeah, you have no idea how much money he's brought to our countries.
Yeah.
So that's why I always say, whether you like Biden or not, I mean, you can make the argument like maybe he does well in the country, but I don't think we've ever had a president that did as well globally as Donald Trump.
We have the fourth branch of government, they call it. The media will not tout any of his accomplishments. And I'm not saying that like he's this great guy. Trust me, he's not. They will hone in on some dopey tweet that he made.
Yeah, exactly. But we forget about the fact that he brought North and South Korea together. Well, something that no one's ever done.
He didn't really. He didn't.
Sort of.
He didn't. But he put pressure on China, which is an absolute taboo in our country with our politicians.
Wait, why did he not bring North and South together?
They're not together. They're still.
Well, they're civil. It's not Korea. But.
Well, he stopped Rocket Man from threatening to launch rockets at us and other places through, a certain degree of diplomacy and getting along with some of these people, which they ripped into him for that. Right. And recently Bill Clinton, they did an old interview, or they brought up another interview where he basically said he respected Putin. Donald Trump says that, and they ripped him a new one.
Yeah.
Okay? Bill Clinton said it, and it was big news. And, he says, I didn't like, we didn't agree, but behind closed doors. And they asked him, did you trust him? And Clinton said, yes, behind closed doors. If he told me something, I trusted him. Can you imagine if that president said it? Right. So that's another reason why it would be a very different narrative if you got even half the good stuff of what happened that many of us experienced prior to COVID.
Question. So it says at the top, Trump has been summoned to appear in court in Miami on Tuesday.
Yes.
Is it Miami because it's Mar-a-Lago?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. I wasn't sure.
So here's another. I saw an article. 2 of Trump's lawyers dropped out.
Really?
From this case. Yeah. Sounds bad, right? You know why? They're not licensed in Florida.
Oh, okay.
They don't put that in the story, okay? They make it sound like, well, they fed up with him and they can't deal with him. Like, that's the tone of the article. They're not licensed to practice there. So once they decided the venue was going to be Miami with Florida, okay, they couldn't do it. So he has another team coming in. This is what I mean. It goes back to that map with the hot, the red. Yeah. It's how insane. You view things. And, unfortunately, too many people, they've honed, but similar to what Limbaugh said, they take it too far. And this should be an interesting case. This will go probably to the Supreme Court if necessary. And he will win at the Supreme Court because they've already decided it.
So it's not going to go anywhere.
No, it probably will. He'll probably there might be a conviction, and he'll appeal it, just like he's doing in New York.
And then the Supreme Court's going to go, okay. Right. We already ruled on this.
It'll eventually get to the Supreme Court, and if they follow what they've always done, they've already ruled on it. He absolutely has the right to take these documents. Right. This other stuff they're coming up with, now I'm seeing other headlines. Remember, this has just been 2 days.
Yeah.
So you're getting 50 million headlines. Now I'm seeing that, his name is Jack Smith, the prosecutor, doctored documents. Says he has a smoking gun. There's no smoking gun. Okay? Others have brought up a good point. All these are copies. He didn't take this stuff. They still have it in the archives. They're printed on computers. They're copies. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. They make it sound like it's the only document out there, and that's not true.
Right. Huh.
So we'll see where it goes, but, they're trying as hard as possible to take this man down and, to send a message to his followers, you will not succeed. Well, his followers are growing every time.
Yeah, every time you do something like this.
Right.
Yeah, this next election is going to be interesting. But speaking of global news, what is this? And gaming news.
Yeah.
Brazil lawmakers filed complaint against Google for slavery simulator
Okay,
game?
Can I tell you what
Really?
is wrong with these people?
Oh, God damn it. Washington Post. No one is going to pay for an online article, so I can't even read it. So, Mom, you're going to have to give us...
Just give them an article.
I'm not giving it... Why? So they can start giving me...
It's fine.
Ugh. Go ahead.
A Brazilian lawmaker, he filed a complaint against Google for the slavery simulator game. Okay, where do they think
Is
these
it
things?
called that?
It's called Slavery Simulator. It's a simulation of South Africa in the 1600s. Okay? The game asks, do you want to be a slave owner or a liberator?
Okay.
It includes torture, selling the body, selling the people.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Obviously, the prosecutor
I'm surprised that
Brazil,
got passed.
Well,
because usually it goes through a passing system.
The game violates Brazilian law. So they not only want the people arrested for it, they're also looking at some of the comments that people made about it. Like, oh, I wish I could do more beatings right?
Yeah, again,
Stupid stuff like that.
You can make the argument that those are jokes. They don't actually mean that. But I don't know Brazil too well in the sense of what their laws are. But
oh, no, there's a law against that. They have stronger laws
right.
against
freedom
that.
Of speech, so
right, they have laws against that, and the prosecutor says, I absolutely want it. It was pulled, and he still wants those people to go to jail, even though they pulled it. Whoever posted that on there. They pulled the game, but issues still remain. There've been
this is where you realize
1,000
how
downloads since the removal.
1,000 downloads?
Of the
yeah,
game.
because you can sell the phone for
leading
more
to a
money.
request for more regulation of the internet and the social media. So not only that, they want to crack down even more.
So, I mean, this is the beauty of a free country. As wrong as it is, it's not illegal to do that. I don't know what's going to happen if you're in Brazil. Is it a Brazilian game? That's
it's
what
Google
I didn't...
game. Yes, it's in
so
Spanish.
it was made in Brazil. So then, yeah, clearly that guy knew what he was doing if he did that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. What are they thinking with the concept?
I don't know. It's just a crappy person that figured out how to do coding, I guess.
But the only thing I will say is this, and this goes back to one of our earlier things. I'm not saying it's right, but this is the mentality. So South Africa, their slave trade was Portugal.
Right.
Remember we talked about how those people don't harp on that. It's not a big deal to them, their history of slavery. Like we in the United States, it's used to beat us up every day of the week that we were slave and reparations and everything. The rest of the world, they had a very strong slave trade, even long before we got into that. Unfortunately, we were one of the last ones to let it go and dissolve the institution, but they don't dwell on that. So believe it or not, this is a big deal to us here in America because we know what a sensitive issue it is. Other parts of the world,
they just nip it in the bud.
well, they don't see it as big deal. They're like, okay, that happened. Fortunately, they have laws, and some people say, you can't have this. This is ridiculous. In our country, it would never get past the. You'd like to think, but
yeah, I don't know who makes that decision. Because I have to believe, like most apps in America, have to go through a whole trial that basically says, hey, this is like you usually have beta testers and all that stuff. So I don't know how this guy managed to just pass it like that.
Because there's different tolerance levels in other countries. That's what I'm saying. To them,
Right,
slavery simulator
Brazil,
is not as big a deal as it would be here in this
America,
country.
Right. But it's still illegal in his country, right? They're arresting him.
Yeah, well, because they have these platforms or these laws that say you can't put that
so
type
the fact
of
that he
stuff
got
out
it
there.
on there, on that, I'm wondering how he got that passed. Like that's, I mean, again, there's usually so many beta testers.
It's a vague law that was used. It didn't specifically. You can't have slavery on there. It's a general law, and as I said, oftentimes, now I don't know that's the case. Maybe they were just like, hey, let's try and get this past the censors. But I think it's more they didn't think it was as big a deal.
Interesting.
You get to accumulate make-believe wealth to buy, sell, punish, or sexualize enslaved people.
Huh. Very interesting. I don't know how that even got passed or what allowed them to get through, but
yeah, as I read the article, and when you post it, people see it on there. There was like a general, you can't post certain things or have. Oh, here it is. Accuses Google of violating a Brazilian law that bans, quote, practicing, inducing, or inciting discrimination or prejudice of race, color, ethnicity, religion, or national origin.
Here's my only question, though, and I don't know if that's necessarily Google. Like, Google's not the one that makes the app. To their point, I guess they're the ones that sell it. But I wonder what the terms and conditions are for someone who made the app and wants to put it on the platform.
Well, the game was taken down by Google Play on Wednesday after it first popped up on the app marketplace April 20th. But now it's at the center of several complaints and a backlash. But you see what I mean? It's a vague. Obviously, this applies to it, but it doesn't specifically say you can't put slavery out there. I mean, it does apply that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm being too optimistic for these individuals or too kind for their intent. But we automatically in this country, you can't do that.
Yeah,
because we're sensitive to the slavery
I would think
issue.
that it wouldn't even get out.
Yeah, you would think that.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, I wonder if that's just a
other countries don't have that same cultural opinion.
Right. Yeah, but I would still think that if it's illegal in the country, just based on the regulations, Google would have to look at it first. There's got to be some systems in every country that has something that looks at the apps that are
and you saw the law.
Marketplace.
The law is, maybe they didn't see it as being they should have, but as being something that goes against ethnicity.
Yeah, I don't know.
Thinking everybody down there is of that color skin, so therefore it's not a big deal.
Did you hear about Activision's big F up again?
No,
they just have L after L after L. Like, it's insane how they're just such a big company that they're just like, we'll just keep taking L's. So Nick Murshes, a big Call of Duty streamer.
Yeah.
There was like a riot going on somewhere about like LGBTQ children or whatever, like going after the kids.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, are you just licking down there? Come on.
Yes.
Come on. Hey, stop. The LGBTQ things, and Nick Murshes just tweeted out, just leave the kids alone or something like that.
Oh, I saw
right?
that.
Yeah. And Activision's like, we're getting rid of your skin, our partnership's over, and now all the big streamers that are friends with him, which literally his friend group is like the top 4 biggest streamers.
Right.
They're like, yeah, we're never playing Call of Duty again.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's insane. Like, do they think everyone's gonna rally behind it? It's so funny how these companies just go, I'm gonna go so far one way that everyone's gonna agree. Like, did they not learn from Target? Did they not learn from Bud Light? Like, how many are you doing it on purpose? Like, I'm truthfully at the point where I think these companies are doing it on purpose.
Yeah, they're doing
it
on purpose. They're pushing buttons to see how far they can take it.
Yeah.
And they're learning, or at least the masses, the silent majority, are learning that we do have a certain degree of power when it comes to free speech.
Yeah,
and
it
what
is
you want to say.
insane that they did that. And they're an American company. Like, it's unbelievable. But yeah, they're just taking L after L after L.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess
I
they
really
better hope the acquisition deal goes through with PlayStation, so they have some money. But I don't know, man. But yeah, that's all I got. I know it's 52. I don't know if you have anything else, but
did I have any more articles?
I didn't see any, unless there was another one that you added. But
No,
I think I got all of them.
Did. We did the Trump indicted. I think I covered them all.
Yeah. What else? We talked about aliens.
Did you have questions or anything from people?
Oh yeah, good
Comments,
question. I don't know.
anything?
I posted it this morning again. I haven't been.
Oh.
I haven't really touched Discord today. Let's see. Anything in? No, it doesn't look like we have any questions. I know Discord's doing a lot of big changes. That was Kenny and I answered. Yeah, so we don't really have anything. The memes. Yeah, no, we're good. No questions. Again, we'd like to see more questions.
What's up?
But where?
What's up? What's up?
Yeah.
It's just funny.
So I guess we're good then. I'll end it there. Again, I know this is a shorter podcast, but again,
it's been a busy week.
I was so swamped today.
Busy week.
And then next week we're gone. So, yeah. So I mentioned this on Friday, but yeah. So we're gone Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we'll only have stream on Monday and Friday. I don't know what we're gonna do in that time because that doesn't give me much time to do anything. I'd like to get through Dark Souls 1 and then do the walkthrough for that, but that'll probably take me a couple weeks. So again, my schedule is just so messed up. I don't know what I'm posting on Monday except for the podcast. Tuesday is this. Tomorrow.
I thought the podcast is on Wednesdays.
No, podcast is not Wednesdays. It comes out on Mondays.
Sorry.
Yeah. My mom still doesn't know the schedules for stuff.
I thought for certain it used to be on a Wednesday.
We've never posted on a Wednesday.
Come
except
on.
for maybe one time when we messed up.
Come on.
Yeah. But yeah, so let me think here. So the way that we're going to do it, because I truthfully wasn't sure if we were going to do a podcast this week. So the way we're going to do it is tomorrow we're going to post the last, Jason and I just finished before this, one of the big maps that came out for zombies. So that walkthrough will be out tomorrow. On top of that, I have to edit the podcast for Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm going to try and move the speed run so that even though we're not here, I can still post it. And then Friday will be something that I recorded that's going to be late because the game came out a week ago, but whatever. We'll figure that out. And then I think that's the plan for the week. So, as I said, the Dark Souls, I know everyone's been waiting for the Dark Souls walkthrough. So hopefully we can start that pretty soon. I think I'm going to be doing mostly note-taking. Is that Grandma?
That's Grandma. She's on your podcast for your podcast people. Her birthday's this week. She's going to be 89. 89,
wow.
Yes. This was her on their trip. I don't know. They were on some cruise when we were kids. They dumped us off. And Mom and Dad went on a cruise with every one of their friends. I remember seeing my parents get onto like a party bus to go on a cruise with every other couple in the neighborhood.
Really?
Everyone left their kids at home. It was party week in Long Island. All these little kids running around. But yes, that's her birthday's this week. She was on your podcast, so people saw her, and that was her man, 1970 maybe. Like that.
Interesting. But so yeah, we're gonna finish Dark Souls at some point. I'm gonna plow through that. I know Jason's plowing through it as well, so he can help me with all the multiplayer achievements. I'm hoping that within the next week or 2 weeks, we can start that walkthrough, and then that'll be a couple weeks of. Well, that'll probably be like 10 streams of Dark Souls. So that's the plan for coming up, and then we're gonna have to do some rescheduling stuff now that work's picking up. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. We'll end it there. Again, join the Discord or post in the Discord more questions so we have something to answer. Again, you can ask us anything. Well, not everything, but, like, you know.
Comment. They can comment,
comment
too.
on
If you
stuff.
disagree with something.
Yeah.
Or agree with
I
something.
mean,
we don't care.
You don't disagree with me, but don't you dare. No. My word is fact.
Just don't use your real name because we will rip you.
Yeah. We'll tear you apart.
Tear you apart.
All right. But yeah, so social media down below, promo codes down below, Discord down below, and all the stream links are down below. And hopefully we will see you guys. I'll see you guys on Monday, and then you'll see Mom hopefully the week after that. So peace.
Bye.